I'm the author of Captivating the Simple-Hearted, a struggle for human dignity in the Indian subcontinent. I'm the author of Saffron Fascists, India's Hindu Nationalist Rulers. Author of Sikh Caucus, Siege in Delhi, Surrender in Washington, published last year. And I am the author, most recently, came out this week, of a short book, India at a Crossroads, Hindu Nationalist Efforts to Eradicate Christianity. So, for the past 5 years, if you can, next slide, please. Most of my work has been focused on the Hindu Nationalist Movement in India, specifically the RSS, which you can see behind me, which is the fountainhead and the proverbial mothership, if any of you are science fiction fans, of that movement. Now, let me give you just a quick rundown of some of what I worked on since 2019. Next slide, please. In 2019, I published a cover article for India's Caravan magazine about Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard and her ties to the RSS BJP in India, as well as her ties to their affiliates here in the US. And I published that as she was running for president here in the US. My article was affirmed by Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, a DC-based watchdog. My article also heavily emphasized Gabbard's involvement with this organization called the Overseas Friends of the BJP. The Overseas Friends of the BJP is the US wing of India's ruling Hindu Nationalist BJP. And as you can see here, she was posing in August of 2014 with the head of that group, who is an Indian politician, and wearing the colors of the BJP. That scarf is the colors of the BJP that took place in Atlanta. Well, next slide, please. About a year after my article came out, the OFBJP, Overseas Friends of the BJP, after nearly 30 years in operation here in the US, was registered as a foreign agent in the US. Next slide, please. My article was also affirmed by Congressman Ro Khanna from up in the Bay Area, and that sparked a huge debate within the South Asian American community about the influence of Hindutva, that is Hindu nationalism, within American politics. Next slide, please. Congressman Khanna's statement also led to a real-world protest against me by the American wing of the RSS, known as the HSS, that happened up in Congressman Khanna's district. It was one of many attacks that I've faced in the US by Hindu nationalist sympathizers. Next, please. And my work drew a lot more attention after I spoke, and many people that I meet on the road know me from this, after I spoke at Houston City Council in 2019, when Indian Prime Minister Modi, an RSS member himself, visited the city. Even months later, as you can see, this is from 2020, Indian media was still talking about it. Now, next slide, please. In 2019, Germany's ambassador to India was the first diplomat in the world to visit the RSS and meet its chief. My journalism turned the issue into an international controversy that was covered around the world. This is just a couple clippings. That's from Germany. This is from France. There was coverage around it all over the world. Next slide, please. Last year, the US ambassador to India also met the RSS, and I was the only journalist to cover it. Next slide, please. But after months of journalism and sustained demands from the Indian American diaspora that he resign due to the meeting with the RSS, he quietly left the Foreign Service in January, despite having 28 years in service. Next slide, please. In 2020, I began exposing the RSS BJP ties of Sri Preston Kulkarni, a candidate for Congress in Houston, Texas. And the local diaspora picked up on it and began a campaign with it, ran with it. And despite what seemed like a guaranteed victory for this guy, who was a Foreign Service veteran, he was catastrophically defeated. Next slide, please. I've continued to write about various other American political candidates and elected officials and their links, their ties, their interactions with the RSS BJP, especially with their RSS BJP affiliates here in the US. And these are just a few quick highlights of my projects over the past 3 years. And thanks to my relentless efforts to expose the RSS-BJP agenda in India and abroad, I was named in a press conference by Delhi police a year ago, and I'm now presumably and sadly banned from India. But I do take it as a marker of, God willing, some small level of my success. So thank you.